Welcome to the Mani Kaur TV Podcast, where big energy meets big ideas and fearless conversations light the fire. We're talking real stories, real people, and real impact, from trailblazers to everyday legends. This is your space to level up, get loud, and feel unstoppable. So plug in, turn it all the way up, and let's shake things up, because this isn't just a podcast, it's a vibe, it's a tribe, it's a movement. And now, here's your host, Mani Kaur.
3, 2, 1, drop it.
To all the viewers and to all the listeners, I just want to say, get ready to be inspired, because today we have the amazing Arpita here, and our topic is all about finding your purpose. So welcome to the show, Arpita. I'm so happy you're here. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so excited as well. Thank you for inviting me.
Do you know what? I've just got these like funny little buzzing inside, because I know that I'm so fascinated to learn even more about you. So I know that this topic, finding your purpose, it's all going to be about creativity, passions, energy, flow of life, the divine, spiritual awakening, astrology, astrophysics, let me just think, the universe, our place in it, and God. And there's just so much things that I know that we're going to end up covering. It might not all go into the flow of what we're thinking, but I just know that it'll be your truth, and it's your journey, and it's your path. And I think that you're going to touch so many people's hearts by your wisdom and your path and your learning and everything. And even just to sitting opposite, and your eye contact, it's going to be deep, but it's going to be good. It's going to be a positive episode. And I'm just really, really excited to get stuck in. So I'm going to give a little introduction of you, just for those people that don't know, just a little one, and then I'll let you lead on. Okay. So Arpita, a beautiful individual who has woven together her passions of art, science, and spirituality to create a life of purpose and meaning. Arpita's story is one of transformation and growth, and we're honoured to have her here today to share her story, her journey. And what I want to know is, who is Arpita now? Because you've been through so many transitions in life. And if you had to just give us a little brief overview of who you are right now, that'd be great.
That's actually a really deep question for me, actually. Who am I? So I'm actually on a path to remembering who I am. That is where I am at this moment. And there's moments and glimpses that I get where I remember who that is. But it's a path and a journey to constantly deepen that connection. And I think, that's basically who I am. What I do is a different story. Like, before, I was a hair and makeup artist, and actually I really attached my identity and who I was to what I did back then. So when I said, if someone said, who are you? I would actually say, I'm a hair and makeup artist. But that wasn't who I was. That was what I did. But now what I do is, I'm going down a path where I'm deepening this remembrance of who I am. But in the process, I am also coaching, facilitating, space holding for other people to also be on that path and also remember who they are and connect more deeper to their own truth and their own essence.
Thank you. And as you said right from the beginning, it's a very deep question, isn't it? Because that's what we're actually trying to find out, who we are truly, authentically, what we've been put here for, and that's like, what are your thoughts on, I know that you've gone through many stages where you've had your spiritual awakening, and I want to know all about that and how those experiences were for you. But what are your thoughts on those that are sleeping?
Honestly,
Honestly.
authentically, if they're sleeping and it's harming no one, then it's okay. But there are a lot of people that are sleeping and they're suffering. And I think that's where, where my heart is, because I can see people who are suffering and they're chasing things outside themselves, when they're actually, what they're seeking is this path to actually connecting to themselves. So yeah, I think if they're sleeping, it's actually okay as well, as long as it's not harming anyone and they're happy. As long as people find peace in it, it's okay. But I also see that there's so many people in this world who are really suffering in the sleep, and that's what that's where the waking up is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like deep down that's what they're actually seeking, is to be woken up. Yeah.
So touching on your spiritual awakenings, would you say that there's been more than one experience where you've had that, or could you just enlighten us a little bit with your transition to spiritual awakening? Did this? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's not linear. It's a kind of a spiral. And also, like, every awakening that you get is completely different. But I also feel like I was really born into a spiritual family, and a family, like my family were following like the Hindu religion. But they prayed a lot and they did a lot of rituals. So I was really born in that space, and I learned about karma and past lives and reincarnation. And so I guess, like, from a young age, just being brought up with that, there was already something in my DNA which was making me a bit more open to spirituality. But then when I reached 18, and my grandfather passed away.
Can I just stop you there for 1 second? Because if we are talking about your childhood, and if we are talking about the way you were brought up and that spiritual rootedness that you had inside you, like, I remember once upon a time you told me that, it started with like the stars and, your interest in like the mystical side and all of that. And, as a younger child, that you kind of did have a special, like the Reiki and the healing and everything like that.
Yeah, I think there was always a little bit of that within me, but I was also drawn to art and music. And like, when I reflect back now, something where it comes to like finding my passion, is that when life around me was a little bit like chaotic, or I couldn't find some sort of peace, I always used to come back to art and music. And when I was in art and music, there was this sense of flow that I was like feeling. And there was like this, I could feel like there was this energy of like flow where you kind of just surrendered to the feelings in the body. And there was like,
So when you talk about music, like playing instruments or singing or what were you into, or you letting or listening to the music? What was the connection there? What were you doing?
So I was just drawing, painting, played the flute, the recorder, the harmonium, did Kathak. So I felt like all these things that I was doing, I just had a lot of passion for. Like, nobody had to force me to get up and practice. Sometimes you have parents and they're like, okay, you need to go and play the piano, you need to practice. But there was never that. There was always like something within me was just like like a desire, there was a passion. I just used to get up and practice. And through that, because there was something else deeper, there was like when I was in the music or the art or something like that, there was a sense of flow. And there was some feeling of blessedness. There was this flow that I think a lot of artists that can resonate with, is when your mind just becomes still, but you also like there is this feeling of flow and a surrender to whatever flows through you. And the mind is just completely switched off, but there's a sense of bliss that comes with it. So it was that feeling that I used to get. And I think this was like, I didn't realize, but this is very like linked to spirituality, this feeling of flow and this feeling of connection and this part where the mind just like is quiet. It was some sort of a meditation for me.
I was just about to say,
it's a meditation. It's an active meditation.
Like, yeah.
And I think so I found that quite young, that was the thing when life was like really hectic or chaotic, or there was just a lot of drama around. This was my meditation.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was regulating me without me realizing.
Like a deep drawn passion from within.
Yeah. And then through that, I always felt like, because it was coming from that place, I could find you just naturally become good at it rather than like trying to force something to happen. Yeah.
So you had the passion for music, artistry, and you were really enjoying the flow of it. But then when you went on to academically, education, university, college, you went into astrophysics. How did that come about?
So I had a desire. I always had a desire also for the stars. And I also watched a lot of movies when I was a kid. So I saw, there was something about like all the space movies that really fascinated me. I had this like, I always found it fascinating that we're so far away from the stars and the planets and all these things out in space. And I just wanted to know what was out there and how it worked. And it's just so fascinating, so big. And it was just mysterious. So I was really fascinated just to find out more and how like everything works. So there was that fascination, but also I think deep down I always wanted to go more towards the arts. But also there was also like, this societal conditioning a little bit where, kind of pushed more into the sciences.
What do you mean by that then?
Well, it was a long time ago, 30, 40 years ago. And being an artist or a musician back then, it wasn't encouraged with my family, I guess. But science was, or being a lawyer or accountant, and all these kind of professions. And there was a rebel inside me too, where I was like, right, well, if I'm going to do science, then I'm going to do what I like. And so I chose the most outrageous thing there is, astrophysics. But also because I was also fascinated by it.
So when you were learning about astrophysics, you also entwined that with astrology, didn't you? Where you've got an interest in astrology, and is that from childhood where you brought that up into your adulthood? Because I know that you
now I really I'm passionate about Vedic astrology, and I've been learning about it for many years, but all through my life it's just been something I've been really fascinated about. And I didn't really know the connection between astrophysics and astrology, but there is like a huge connection between both of them. But yeah, it's very fascinating just understanding the stars, but from a spiritual point of view, and like how it affects us, like on planet Earth and our lives. And yeah, it's a big topic as well.
Yeah. So what could you share about it, as in the sense that how the universe and astrology and spirituality, how have you found your place in it? How have you fitted that around learning about those different areas?
Shall I tell you like a little bit of a backstory of how I got really into Vedic astrology? So this might apply to many people actually. So when I was young, my mum particularly, used to take me to a lot of astrologers. I remember like my first astrologer that I had seen was probably at 12 or 13, because there was always like astrologers coming from India, and then I found that, you know, they'd like check my sign, and my mother, I think this goes for a lot of mothers, they worry about their children, right? Like, what's their life going to be like? So like my mom used to like worry about, you know, is she going to get married? Like, what's her future like? But every priest always used to say, or every like astrologer used to say, well, she's got these shadow planets in these houses. It doesn't look good. Like, you know, and I'm just like, what do you mean? My life is great. I just couldn't understand like what they were saying. And then like over the years, like different astrologers would say the same thing. And there was this one astrologer when I turned 32, my parents came to Birmingham with one of my aunties from America, and they said that this is a really famous astrologer and we need to go see them and we need to find out why you're not married yet. So I went to see this astrologer, and the astrologer said the same thing. You won't get married until after you're 42 because this shadow planet is affecting your chart. And that was like really heartbreaking for me at that moment, because I was just like, what do you mean? Like,
were you fully invested in these predictions growing up?
I wasn't, because I was kind of rebelling as well, because I was like, I've got strong willpower. I can make a difference to, you know, I can like,
you can override
I can change it. Yeah, I can change it. And then like, you know, and I just was like, you know what? I don't believe this astrologer. So I carried on with my life, and then I started to approach 40, and I was just remembering that reading, and I thought, do you mean like maybe there was some truth in this? And if that is the case, then does that mean I don't have any willpower? And there was a bit of anger that came up in that moment, because I was like, well, I need to get to the bottom of this. So that's why I went into Vedic astrology, because I really wanted to understand like how does this work? How does the universe work? Like, why does my willpower not like mean anything here? Yeah, like, why can't I change this? And then through that, I started to realize there's so much spirituality. Like, it's just surrendering to your karmas, but also.
What do you mean by that? Surrendering to your karmas, for people that don't understand that?
So there's a lot that I found in the astrology. One of them is this idea of karma, like we are born with some karmas that we have to pay debt for in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And you know, some people might have illnesses, some people like they don't get married. I mean, that, you know, or they don't have children. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. But it's just surrendering to that and just paying those debts off, and yeah, just surrendering to it. But also, there's this path where the whole point of the astrological chart as well is to actually reach liberation, and some of this is also about that. It's about surrendering and letting go of these ideas that in this life, maybe, you know, that we have to get married, that we have to have children, that we have to, you know, do all these things that we were conditioning to think, that makes us worthy, or that makes us
That's societal, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's not sole purpose, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not our sole journey, and the whole part of our journey is actually to liberate from. Yeah, it's about
From
liberation
from
the chains that are binding us as well. Yeah, and from the chase, and you can even do that in marriage and with children. But for some of us, it might not be that because our path is different. And yeah, it's just surrendering to that. So
that's how you came about astrology, and
yeah, that's how I became to astrology. But it also took me to my spiritual path even more deeper. So yeah.
So how do your parents still got the, what do they call it? What do they call it in Punjabi or Hindi? Your Kundali? No, it's not your Kundali.
Kundali.
Is that your astrology?
Yes, Kundali, yeah.
Yeah, it is that, isn't it?
I think I'm more into it now than they are.
So you were actually, because before you were, it's sometimes I feel like the astrology thing, and as you said, like, you know, your parents running around after you, we didn't have it as much in our life because we're not brought up the Hindi way. But I do understand that sometimes it can be a little bit fear-based. As you said, it's like the worries and why hasn't my child met that milestone yet? What's going to happen? Oh, you know, there's something not going right, and it's about putting it right, and it's quite deep, isn't it?
It really is, but that's also some of our path, isn't it? It's about also healing our ancestral conditioning and liberating from that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a path. The whole thing's a path.
Yeah. Moving on from astrophysics at university, then what made you think, right, that's it? You know, you got yourself a career in astrophysics as well. What did you do? And
no.
Did you think, no, not doing this, no?
Yeah, I shifted actually. It's a long story. So again, it comes back to watching the movies. You know, when I was young, I was such a big dreamer. So I used to watch like movies and then be like, yeah, I want to create that and I want to go there and I want to work for NASA. So I watched all these movies of like scientists wearing a white coat and working in NASA, and it just looked like, so for me, it was just so inspiring. So I had this illusion in my head, or like this dream that this is how it's going to be, right? But then when I went to Manchester University, we had this little hut that we have to go in, and that is basically, I just saw what my life would be like. It was in the middle of nowhere, in a field, and you're so disconnected from the world, but you're just looking at a computer screen which is scanning. It's connected to a telescope that's scanning the universe, and you just sit there looking at numbers. And I was just like, oh, this wasn't quite what
you'd imagined.
This wasn't quite the dream or the vision that I had. And then I realized that actually, like, even though I'm so fascinated by it, what I really wanted was to be connected with people, and this was very disconnected. And so then I was like, I just want to switch completely, and I want to do, I want to actually go into art therapy or healing. So for a few years, I was a bit lost. And I just was like, right, I want to do some healing. I want to do art therapy. And I studied, Reiki. I did Reiki, crystal healing. And I went down a bit of a spiritual path, had my first proper spiritual awakening at that time.
Tell us a bit about that.
So it was also because my grandfather passed away, and I found it very difficult, sitting with that grief. I couldn't accept his death. So yeah, there was this part of me which was just like, you know what? I want to be able to connect to the spirit world, so I can see him, I can speak to him, and I meditated a lot, and I focused on opening my third eye.
Okay, stop. Okay, that's some deep stuff, that is. So
yeah.
so off the offset, people would probably think that's quite dangerous, right? Like going back into a different realm. You know what I mean? Like, once the person's passed, they've passed and their soul's passed on. And, some people can have some real misconceptions or concerns about that. Did you have any of your family members or anything thinking, oh, what, don't mess with what's gone, or,
I don't think they knew why I went into that. Nobody knew that the motive. It was through grief that I went down that path. But actually, I think there is something around grief that actually makes you very intuitive when you actually really sit with it.
You understand actually what life. Is that...
Well, when you really feel, your body actually becomes more intuitive. So some people numb feelings in the body, but for me, I found that grief was like a route into my intuition, and it actually opened up like my intuitive and psychic abilities. But is it dangerous? I think for me at that time, it wasn't. I mean, I guess it's better to have a teacher and a guide. But I was also very young, and for me, I felt like there was a lot of innocence and there was a lot of purity in my energy, and so I always just felt like only good things I will see, and so that was all I was attracting. And the path was very, like, it felt like there was a lot of pureness coming through. So yeah, that's what I felt and saw and experienced. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, it's better to always be guided. And I think that's one of the reasons at that time, after a few years, I actually blocked that part of me as well, because I felt like I needed a guide and I needed a teacher. I needed someone to also guide me on this path. And at that age, I couldn't find it around.
Your psychic abilities, like, how did that play out? Like, when you said that, you had some like psychic parts and your Reiki and everything like that, what were you doing? What were you practicing? And were you healing people through that?
Yes. Yeah. So with the Reiki, I could really feel like their pain or what they're going through in my own body at that time. But also when it came to I was also doing a lot of tarot readings, and it was actually quite a deep path because there was many experiences. There was also like astral projection and lucid dreaming and seeing angels, and I mean there was a lot, and it's quite deep. But I also closed it up, and that's something, I made the choice to do at that time. Because
why did you close it up? Because you just said earlier, your third eye had opened, right?
It had opened, yeah, but I didn't know how to also manage it. I didn't have great, like on this physical plane and emotional plane, we're aware of our boundaries, right? And sometimes when we don't have strong boundaries and they're overcrossed, it creates not, a feeling of not feeling safe in your body, right? And it can create anger, or safety is very important. Boundaries is very important. But with the spiritual plane, there's also boundaries which you need to establish. And I didn't know how to do that. And so I was like, this isn't the right time. I closed myself up because I also needed to live on this, earthly plane. And as a student, where I was tarot reading all the time, people kept coming for advice and I kept giving, but I was broke. So I was just like, you know what, I need to actually go out and have a career. I need to have I need to, just build a career for myself, and some way to live, and then I'll come back. I made this promise to myself and to, I guess, that spiritual plane. I'll come back to this later on in life. From that day, I stopped seeing angels. Everything just stopped. Like the moment I decided. And then I just went down another path. Yeah. And then I went down. I decided I would go back to physics, but from the medical aspect. So then I'm still serving, I'm still helping, but using the physics that I had studied in a more like connecting, and connecting to people, and on this plane, not in, the universal. Yeah. So then I was a radiotherapy physicist. And that's when I moved to Birmingham, and I did that for 7 years. Became a state registered clinical scientist. And then during that process, I decided, no, this isn't for me.
So what came that point again? This is not for me. And sometimes that's the most scariest thing, isn't it? When you work towards something and you've invested so much of your life and time, and then you're like, no, this is not for me. I need to move on. Yeah.
There was a lot that came up at that point as well, because like you said, when you spend so much time, and I felt like I studied the hardest I've ever studied, and I put so much work in, and then at the end I was just like, okay, this isn't for me. And it was a really hard decision, because I'm also having these age stories like, but at the time I was like 27, 28, and I was like, but I can't start again.
Yeah, even though you're younger.
Yeah, even everyone has this, right? Whatever stage in their life, they like have these age stories like, I can't start again. Yeah. I'm too old to start again.
All the studying. I've invested too much now. So yeah, I can't. So I had all these things come up. But then I was also saying, but I've also got a long life ahead of me. And if I don't start now, then I'm going to regret it more when I'm 35 or 45. So what do I really want? And for me, as a radiotherapy physicist, my dreamer side came out again. So whilst I'm behind my computer again, in the hospital, in my office, I used to always stare outside the window and I'd be like, I should be out there. What am I doing inside? I also felt like I'm still not connecting to people. And that was such a desire for me to connect to people. And I was like, I need to be out in the world. I wanted to travel, and sitting at my desk, I used to be dreaming about what kind of life I really wanted. And I was like, okay, what do I really want out of life? And I remember getting to the stage where I was like, okay, I have to make a wise decision now. So how am I going to decide what I want in life? And I thought, okay, what do I really want? And I had to be very honest with myself. And so I wrote down a list of values that's really important in a job for me. And I was like, okay, I don't want to spend most of my hours working. I want to remember that actually, this isn't the point of life. I want to have fun with what I do. I want to wake up. And I remembered how it was when I was a child, when we went back to being a child, and where I used to get up and I didn't need to practice, and you're in that flow and everything's natural. And I was like, that's what I want. Because when I used to go to another physicist's office and I used to ask them a question, all the information used to come out of them without them grabbing a book. And I was like, they're in the flow right now, but this job isn't a flow for me. So what is flow? And I sat with myself and remembering my childhood passions. It was always art, it was music, it was creativity. And I also realized what was really important for me. So I was a very impatient person, that I needed to see results straight away. I can't wait a long time to see the results. Yeah. So I wrote all these things down. I also realized that I also need to make
a lot of money, enough money to enjoy life.
Yeah.
That was very important. Because I was like, I don't want to be constantly like chasing money, right? I also want to explore the world. I want to see the world. I want to live my life. So I wrote down like also like really honestly, like what it
unapologetically.
Yeah,
what
like
you want from the universe.
What do I want? Yeah, what do I want? And I sat with that. And then like I was exploring lots of ideas. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a children presenter. Maybe I will, like, you know, is it drama? What is it that, like, you know, that speaks to me, that feels aligned? And at the time, my sister was getting married. So she was going on makeup trials, and she was also like looking at makeup pictures, and I don't know what happened, but I went to one of her makeup trials, and then I was like, I can do this.
So that's where you came in with the creativity, with being you know, an amazing hair and makeup artist at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, from that point, I was just like, okay. I woke up with the light bulb moment. And I was like thinking of remembering my list of all the stuff that I wanted. And then it was literally like a light bulb moment. I went, oh, I'm going to be a hair and makeup artist. And then I looked at my list and I was like, it fits. Oh my God. And I don't know, from that moment, something within me just lit up, and I just felt like this is it.
You know that list that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you remember, but at that masterclass that we had,
Yeah.
which is just an epic memory of mine for so many different reasons, which we might just reveal a little bit later. But you told me to write that list as well. And you said to me, right, Mani, you need to write down the 2 columns, and then from there you can, and that was what was 3 years ago, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pivotal point for me, where you also did my cards, my astrology cards, but you also made me write that list, and that was that light bulb moment, which I had as well. And I was like, yeah, that matches. Yeah, that matches. And that's how this podcast came about.
That's amazing. And I can't believe it, like sitting here.
That seed was like planted, and then, and I think that for everyone who's watching and listening, write that list up.
Yeah. That list
don't
is
delay
powerful.
It. Don't delay it, because you could just, don't be scared of making a shift. Don't be scared of making a change.
Yeah. And it is kind of working backwards, isn't it? Because normally we're like, okay, do I want to, like, you know, be a podcaster? Do I want to be a hair and makeup artist? But it's like make the list first and then see what fits the list, rather than the other way around. Yeah. Do it, guys.
Yeah. Do it. Okay. So then when you were in the industry for such a long time.
Yeah.
And you made your mark, you well established. A lot of viewers and listeners will know who Arpita was as the creative hairstylist, and you know, you were at the top of your game. Mm-hmm. What made you then, that's it, I'm done with this now?
Oh, that's a deep story.
Deep story. You were a makeup artist for how many years? Like over
18.
I was going to say over a decade.
Yeah.
Well over a decade.
Yeah. So what made me switch? You'd never guess though, because when I decided that I was going to be a hair and makeup artist, I knew it was just a stepping stone. And that it wasn't something I wanted to do forever. Mm-hmm. There was this part where I was like, there's a lot of things I want to do in my life. So I'm just going to do this hair and makeup and then see what happens. But then I got so attached to hair and makeup. But there was always throughout this longing that I wanted to go deeper, that something wasn't really fully being met in my needs. Like I wanted to serve deeper, not just like I wanted people to feel good from the inside, not just from the outside.
Snap.
That was really important.
Yeah.
And
I think that was what you, like when I spoke to you back then 3 years ago, you were saying that was one of your hardest things was you're so attached to the industry and to your craft that you just didn't know how to detach, but you felt like you really needed to. Because when I met you 3 years ago, it was January time, just after lockdown, and you were doing it was your last masterclass in Birmingham, and that was the deepest masterclass. I think that I went there to go and learn hair, but I left after 3 days with just like never looked at the doll again. And because we just started talking so deep on a spiritual level that I was just like, okay. I remember when I got there, I was like really confused, and I was like, I know I'm here to learn hair, but I actually don't know if I want to carry on doing this now, because I'd just hit 40, had my third baby, you know, everything's blessings upon blessings, but it's still like, oh, there's a gap of unfulfillment of I want to do more. As you just said before, you know, making somebody look good on the outside, doing their hair and their makeup and making them look good on the outside. I was like, but there's something deeper. I want to touch souls. I want to, because when you do hair and makeup, sometimes your clients, they are like, you have a soul connection sometimes, and you go into some deep chats, and you just, it's almost like a releasing and a healing process, and you build some beautiful friendships. I still have got really good friendships from clients who were clients, and now they are friends. And I remember and then you were like, well, what do you want to do then, Mani? Like, what are you doing here if you're not? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's just brush. Can we talk a little bit more about spirituality? Can we talk a little bit more about? Yeah. And the whole shift on that, you know, thanks to you, because it was you who made me realize that actually what I want to do is create a platform, and I want to create a bigger platform where I'm connecting with people on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, and learn and share and feel the love from within and peace. And I know it sounds like a really wacky to some people, but it's more meaningful.
Yeah, it is. And it's so beautiful. And actually this is what the world needs, really, is for love. Like, there's so much, you know, like stuff going on in the world, that the world needs love, and they need like this for all of us to like spread that love. Yeah,
like be at service. Like when I'm sitting in this podcast and I'm sharing somebody else's story, and they're talking about their dark times, and they're talking about, you know, things that they've been through, real hard stuff, and they're willing to share it with everybody, you know, all the audiences. It's almost like you're sharing like a beacon of light. You're sharing the goodness out there, that there is good. There is, you know, what do they say? They say like in the darkest room, all you need is like one lamp or candle lit, and it brightens up everything. So we all need to shine bright for each other, don't we? Because there is a lot of bad things going on around the world, wars, floods, you know, natural disasters, people being harmful to each other, dangerous things. We're all, I don't know, gets emotional, doesn't it? But it's nice and good to share good practice and love with other people, and that's why I'm here. I mean, one day I'll be on that side and I'll be explaining how I got there, but, you know, you had that shift as well, where you were just like, right, okay, hair and makeup, let's move on.
Yeah, it was actually very hard, that shift as well. I think we were probably going through the same thing at the same time. And I was telling you, but I was also experiencing it myself, because I was also shifting from hair and makeup, and it was through an ayahuasca journey where I was shown.
And my ears perked up even more. I was like, what? You've been on an ayahuasca journey? No way. And you're like, yeah, this is my third time or something. I was like, was right, because you just came back from Colombia. Was that the third one?
Was that the Colombia one? Yeah, that was, I think I had a few.
You had two before that, I think, or one or something. So what is ayahuasca, for those that don't know?
Okay, that is it's a plant medicine, and there is a spirit molecule that actually connects you to the spirit world when you drink this tea. So it's actually like, it opens up your vision and the truth that maybe you can't really connect to, you know, in like this waking state. So when you see these messages, they could tell you something, they could actually help you heal some trauma that you might be holding on to, but it can also, whatever intention you have, you will see that whilst you take this ayahuasca. So you can get directed to a different path, you can get messages, or it just helps you to release like stuff, like trauma and unprocessed stuff that you might have been like numbing or like running away from. But through that, there's like so much healing, but a lot of truth also gets revealed. And there's a lot of confrontation as well.
So when you say confrontation, and when you say it's you fighting against what is it that in that period of time and
what I was facing. So for me, it was when I went, I had a lot of questions. I felt like I was in a path where I had crossroads in a lot of areas. I was like, with my business, I was like, oh, shall I do this or shall I do that? Also in terms of like having a baby, I was getting to that age. I was like, oh, what do I do? Do I have a sperm donor, or do I wait? I mean, like there was just so many questions and I just didn't know. So I went on this plant medicine journey, and I was just really like also met with truths that I wasn't, at that time, it felt like very hard to accept. But one of the truths was to actually leave hair and makeup. And I was so attached to hair and makeup at that point that I was like, no.
Again, because you invested so many years.
So much time. I was like,
so much time.
And
you were at your peaking.
And there was a lot of fear. I was like, how am I going to make money? How am I going to survive? Like what else do I do? But there was like a clear direction that I just needed to chop and change. And I was just like, okay, that's very risky. And there was a lot of fear that came up.
You didn't accept it quickly, did you?
I didn't accept it quickly at all. And it took me a long time to surrender to that. I think it took, like at that time I had just come back from that ayahuasca and I shared that experience with you.
Yeah,
and I was just resistant. I was so resistant. But the learning for me was what I was shown in the ayahuasca was there was like a very spiritual part of me that was playing out in this hair and makeup journey as well, because there was this art this art and this flow that was happening. And it came, and I always knew it was connected to something outside of me, and I was a vessel for creativity. And when I connected to that, I could always feel that blissness, the same feeling from my childhood. And when I was having these conversations with brides as well, the same connection that you talk about, this soul connection, where like real healing happens. And it felt beautiful. Like I love that connection and I love that flow. But there was also a wound that was playing out in this. And for me, it was the perfection wound. And there was always this thing that I was never good enough at my job. I was never good enough as a hair and makeup artist. So when I wasn't in this flow and this connection with God, or this, divine feeling, this other thing in my mind would play out, is not enough. And I would always try to better, like the hair and makeup,
A lot of people would actually really like
resonate. Yeah.
Because you, obviously with the hair, you were like the queen of hair.
Yeah.
And makeup, but just the queen of hair. Like you'd done so many courses with Russian hairstylists and like, and then you'd come back and nobody else could even match what you could do. So, for you to feel that you're not good enough, that's just like, would be shocking. And you shocked me. I was like, what? You actually think about yourself in that way? I'm thinking, God,
and I'm
forget
sure a
me
lot
then,
of people
because
think that.
I think like I'm, terrible at everything. I'm the worst I criticized myself so much, like,
Yeah.
you know, and you were like, Mani, you're too hard on yourself. I mean, I get that a lot when people say to me,
Yeah.
you're too hard on yourself, Mani, but I think that takes time, and I'm still working on that. Because I will always just be like, oh yeah, that was shit. Oh yeah, that wasn't good. Oh yeah, I need to put more work into that, because I think that I'll allow other people's perceptions to come in. But then even with this, it's like, you know, those who want to learn and want to grow and want to come on this journey with me, more than welcome. And those who want to just keep bashing you and making you feel like you're not good enough, I'm not a magnet to that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull away from that as much as I can, because you're never gonna be everyone's cup of tea, right? You know what I mean? It's not the way, but you've got to work on yourself to just strengthen yourself and try and be the best you can with the right intentions.
The best you can, but and from a healthy feeling inside your body. I guess that's the most important thing, because for me it felt like every time, like, I'd create a piece of art, I'd look at it for a second, I'd be like, oh, I love it, and then after I'm like, oh, but that's not right. The perfectionist comes out, and it's like so critical that it was eating something inside of me. And I recognized that actually, like, this part of me, the perfectionist, was actually amazing, because it served a lot of people, but it wasn't serving me. It was actually, I was always chasing something outside of me, like the feeling of being enough, and I was never gonna achieve it. And you know, that feeling's never gonna come outside of you. And this is what the medicine was showing me, was that actually, like, I need to let go, and this is attachment of any sort is not healthy. And there was an obsession here. I had an obsession of, like, you know, to like constantly make things like perfect and keep going and getting better, but it was not from a healthy place, because inside me there was something eating up. And so and this realization was like amazing, and it was also hard to let go, because it's kind of like trusting that there's nothing to prove, you know, there's nothing to prove here, and to really go to a deeper place of what is it that what is really the purpose, and is it about the I, is it about being loved, or is it about actually pouring love into the world? And I mean, that's basically like it. And it was calling me to like look at all these things, and, you know, what am I acting from? Am I acting from love and service and from my essence, or am I actually acting from my wounds? And that's the journey that I started to go on, like this really deep healing journey, and to come back to find like my essence and heal all these things, so that I can actually serve from a more deeper place. And if I can serve and go to deeper places to myself, then I can also provide deeper transformations for other people.
So your ayahuasca journeys, how many have there been?
There's like 21.
21.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So back then it was probably 3. So in the last 3 years you've been on
A crazy amount.
Proper soul searching.
Yeah.
21. That is really like, it's not for everyone. Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Why isn't it for everyone? And why was it for you?
I think when your soul is searching, or when it's down your path, like, I think that path just calls you, that medicine calls you. It's a calling. And and
that's
so,
helped you with your spiritual awakening, hasn't it? To get to
be honest, it really has. I mean, you know, the time when the first time where it said that, you know, you need to leave hair and makeup, the medicine also said, and when I mean medicine, I mean like, you know, the messages that come from you.
let's give a little context to it.
Okay.
just for those that don't know what ayahuasca is, and I'm sure they're probably sitting there in
Yeah,
Google
yeah.
thinking, well, what is it? What was she on about? What
Yeah.
medicine is she on about? But give us a little bit insight of an experience.
Of an
like,
experience, yeah. Okay, so
what happens?
you drink a tea, this tea, and you're normally in a maloka, which is like a shamanic kind of tent with a shaman, and in a group of people as well. And then once you drink the tea, you basically just go to your own mattresses, and then you just sit there in silence, and you just wait for the medicine to kind of like hit you. And
is that a scary experience? Not for you now, because you've
no,
obviously
it's still
been
scary. I mean,
Is it
every
still
time is
scary?
different. Every time is a different experience. So some have been very beautiful, and some have been a little bit more scarier. And I'll explain that actually. And yeah, so you sit in this, and then, everyone also gets a different experience, but normally with your eyes closed, that's the best way to do it. You will start to see visions, you might hear voices, you might just sense feelings, you'll just experience like a different experience. Some people don't have visions, but they just get these like messages, downloads coming through. And it's very clear that it is, not your voice. So yeah, it's very strong. Yeah. And so when I say that sometimes it's not easy and sometimes it's hard,
It's the truth that you're...
yeah. And when you go on this experience, for me, it's almost like, feels like when you come out, I realize that every journey in life is also an ayahuasca trip. And what is actually happening in the ayahuasca journey itself is just a more amplified version of it. And you kind of seeing the truth. So every time you don't surrender to something, that life and the flow is, like trying to take you on, when you don't surrender to it and there's resistance, that's when suffering happens. But when you surrender to it, and in the same sense, the ayahuasca journey, you completely surrender to what the medicine is showing you and the lessons that is teaching you. You let go of the ego. Then you realize that actually it's a beautiful journey. Our suffering is actually in the resistance. And this really is amplified in the journey of ayahuasca. And then when you come out, you realize, oh my God, this is actually life. There's so many times when life has got its own kind of life force that is taking you places. It's for your own growth, for your own, liberation, for your own path. But there's a parts of our mind, parts of our egos, our conditioning that tries to control it and resist it out of fear. We don't know where it's going, but if we also just trust the process and surrender that, and know that there is something divine and everything is happening for us, through that surrender, the suffering.
It's like surrendering the outcome.
Yeah, like you said earlier as well, surrendering the outcome. Yeah.
Knowing that you have no control.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's God's will, it's the divine will, it's whatever you want to call it. If you, some people are not the godly way, which is fine, but they might have angels, they might have spirit guides, their ancestors, whatever it is, but there's something far greater than you that makes things happen.
Yeah. And whatever happens, in whatever way, even if it feels uncomfortable, when you surrender to it, it actually just softens, doesn't it? When
Because you're accepting.
You're accepting. That's when it becomes like it just eases. Yeah. It's with everything that's uncomfortable in life. It's when we like really resist it, it becomes more of a suffering.
Yeah.
And there was this one powerful ayahuasca journey where it said you don't need to suffer to heal. And it was just really powerful for me, because there's so many times when we think even in our healing journey, we must experience pain or we must suffer. But we don't need to, like, not in any area of life, we don't need to suffer. And sometimes for me as well, and I think for this, a lot of people that I've come across, we're also attached to the suffering.
Yeah.
But yeah, just letting go of that and just realizing we actually don't need to suffer.
That's beautiful. That is actually, that message is like, so if you actually really think about it, sometimes you meet some people and they actually carry that energy where they actually want to talk and be in a negative suffering space. And they just choose to be there, but you don't have to choose to be in that.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it depends on the circumstances as well for somebody, because they're just not letting go. Not letting go of grief, not letting go of pain or their circumstances or what's happening to them right there and then. And I think that's something to really think about, that you don't have to be in that space.
Yeah, exactly. And relating it back to my story, just to give like a bit of context to this, is I was also suffering as a hair and makeup artist, but I was attached to the hair and makeup, and I didn't let go because there was a fear of the unknown. But it's in the just surrendering,
The not knowing.
the not surrendering that something's going to take you, and just trusting that, and through that you're also letting go of the suffering rather than staying in it.
I know that you on the socials and stuff that you revealed that you were, you know, freezing eggs, and you were just going down that channel as well. Again, another attachment that you faced. And then
Yes, this was a big one for me, actually. Having a baby was such a huge thing. I remember as a child, I was just like, you know, still I was dreaming about having a kid, even as a hair and makeup artist. And throughout that career, I was always thinking, you know, about like everything, all my decisions were based around having a child, like one day in the future. And I guess also every time you, like, you know, you're looking for like relationships as well, there's always that voice as well in your head. And I think, you know, I froze my eggs when I turned 40, and I did like 5 rounds of that because I was really, you know, at this point where this is very important to me, and I was very attached to this idea. And I was attached to this idea of having children. And again, all my decisions were really like based around it, but also in a more intense way as I got older, because there was just so much more pressure. It was like, okay, but what do I do? At that time, I'm like 43, 44, and I'm like, okay, time is running out now. Like, what do I do? Do I get a sperm donor? Do I find a guy? Like, I mean, like, there's just too much pressure. Or even if I do it myself, I need to also buy a house, and then the stability. Yeah, like, how do I do it? Like, I need to also make enough money to pay the mortgage and go out and do hair and makeup. How am I going to do this in ridiculous times of the morning? Like, there was just so many questions. And I was just like, I just need to make it work. And I was still set on this, but in my body, like, there was so much tension, there was so much contraction, there was so much like feelings of like pain,
frustration,
like,
just like
and
happening.
just feeling like I don't feel supported by like anything or anyone, or I'm not really sure.
Things are not going to your plan or your end goal, that, you know.
And no one can feel this pain that I'm feeling as well. That was very significant. And this urgency that I'm feeling right now. And then, I don't know. And also with the medicine was telling me to leave hair and makeup. And I was like, how can I do that?
And the amount of money that you probably spent on getting your eggs frozen, it's not a joke, is it?
It isn't a joke. Yeah, it really isn't. But I was just like, how do I leave my hair and makeup business, follow my purpose, follow my spiritual path and the healing journey and all of this? How can I do that when there's this urgency to have a baby? So these questions were really coming up for me. But then one day, I think I was in the shower. There was a lot of shower moments where light bulb moments, but I was in the shower. I was like, what happens if I just let go of the idea of having a child? And I was like, what just happened? Because I think it was that moment that I realized, hold on, everything that I'm deciding on right now is based around the child, but it doesn't feel aligned to my actual, where my soul wants to go. And so in that moment, I went, okay, let's just let go of this idea for a little. For me, at one point, it was just for a little while. But actually, in that moment, when I let go of that idea, like everything kind of opened up. I was like,
did you feel freer?
Yeah, because all the other pressures wasn't there anymore. It was like, okay, I don't need to buy a house. And my soul didn't want to buy a house. I didn't want to buy a house, but I felt like I needed to buy the house. And
for home.
To give a home. And I was like,
this unborn child.
But I was like, this isn't what I want. So then I let go of that. And I was like, okay, that means I also don't need a man.
You don't need a man.
I was like, okay. I was like, actually, that puts a lot of pressure off as well, because I felt like in this time of my life, I really want to go on this journey of like discovering my soul. And then there wasn't this pressure either. I was like, okay. So stuff started to ease off my shoulders, like all the little things. I was like, okay, I can actually give up hair and makeup now then as well. I don't actually need to do it if I don't want to. So there's all these little things which I realized that had been weighing me down without me realizing they had been weighing me down, that I could finally let go of once I let go of the idea of not having a child. And deep down, I knew that actually things actually happen when you actually detach anyway. But it really was from a place of detachment. So now for me, I really know, and I've come to a place where I realize my purpose in life is really to just go down my own spiritual path, of remembrance, of connecting deeper to myself, because I know that when I go down this place, to this path, that everything around me also shifts. And also being on this journey where, I feel like I'm on this journey of like going towards moksha, liberation, enlightenment, but also helping people or guiding people along the way. And whatever that looks like. But there is a detachment now, and anything that comes on that path along that way is actually, if it's aligned to that, then okay, great. Yeah. But yeah, that's where I am. Because I know that, the purpose is not to attach and
to detach.
There was also one very clear thing I had in that shower, that moment that let go of the idea. And I asked this one question to myself. I was like, why do you really want a child? And I said to myself, I actually want a child because there's a part of me that wants to give love to a child that I don't feel like I fully received. And then I realized that actually I need to pour that back into me. And it's my own inner child that needs that love. And so from that moment, I realized that's actually if I heal that, it's probably a more healthier way if I do have a child, because then if I have a child from this wounded part, then I'm also not serving the child.
It's almost like nourish myself
first fully, and then I can also nourish a child if the child comes into my life.
Wow, it's beautiful. Since having that beautiful realization. What did you go on to then? Obviously, you did more ayahuasca trips, but in between, what followed through with the path?
So yeah, once I realized that I didn't want, it wasn't important to have a child, and I let go of that idea, and I let go of the idea of having a house,
And a man.
Yeah, I let go of it all. I was meditating just one day, and it was like in December 2023, and I was just meditating, sitting silently, and I don't know what, this white light came and it just went, you need to go to India. And it was almost like a message that just came through, and it was very clear because it's also said not just for a week. It's like go for a few months and just trust the journey, just trust the path. And I didn't know what I was signing up for. I didn't know where I was going, but I was like, okay, I'm going to India. I'm just gonna drop the house, drop everything, going to India. So I didn't have any like hair and makeup clients for that, those winter months. So
Perfect timing.
Yeah, from the moment I had that meditation, like a week later, I was in India, and I'd sign up to like some deep transformational like courses, and for me that was the beginning of really going into like actually going more into my body and becoming more of aware of all these like emotions that I had. But it was also like it was also the path into spirituality, because I had discovered that there was a lot of numbing in my body. There was a lot of things where I was also living in my head for so many years. And I had just completely, especially in business, I'd completely numbed how I really felt. I didn't have access to my own emotions. And so this was the first time I started to delve more into this space. And I realized through like going more deeper into the body, even in tantric practices, you can also access you get to access deeper parts of you, and actually access deeper emotions. And it's a journey, and it actually feels so beautiful to experience that and experience like all these emotions that I hadn't felt for so many years. I remember thinking when I first walked into this course that all I wanted to do in this 7 days was cry, because I actually hadn't cried for years, and I didn't even know how to cry anymore. And and then that first seminar I found it still a little bit too hard, but then slowly going on different courses and spiritual paths, I just feel like I cry all the time now. But
Connected,
but I don't feel ashamed. There was so much shame even around crying and feeling all these emotions, which is also part of the conditioning that I'd been grown up with. But yeah, so I went really down a path of the tantric path and different somatics, and also breath work, and really connecting, learning how to connect to myself through connecting to my body, connecting to the feelings in my body.
Like, do you think like generally, averagely, like the average person that wants to connect, they get these opportunities? Because I feel like that's a massive blessing for you, that you could just shut shop and go and find yourself, go and find your soul purpose. If there was somebody listening or watching now, they're like, oh, but I can't because I've got too much holding me back. What would you say to them? Like what they should do to go and find their soul purpose, or how can they practice trying to find themselves?
I think if there is that coming up, then it's just to notice if there is actually a resistance in finding the soul purpose, because a lot of fears come up and people also like find ways not to do it. discovered this from people just around me. Because you don't need to go to India to find your soul purpose. You don't need to actually drop everything. There's a lot available online. There's a lot available, like probably locally. Even at the moment, I also give like breathwork sessions. And breathwork is very like, helps you to really connect as well to yourself. And there's a lot of practitioners around. There's a lot of people doing somatic work and dropping into your body to help you to access parts of you that you may have numbed. So yeah, all of this stuff is very available, like around.
It's just that like feels like obviously you going to India, that was like an advanced level, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Like you went on a proper advanced course, if
yes,
anything.
because I was very serious about, I guess, also as in
and to get to where you are now.
Yeah, as in this is what I want to also give to other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't if it's not in your like. If it's you're unable to do it because of children and all the other commitments, there are always other ways. Yeah, you don't need to go to India.
I think like even a good starting point is just meditation.
Yeah.
Try and stillness.
Stillness, yeah.
Try and find the peace in that. I've been practicing now quite a while, and I would just say to everyone and anyone, just give yourself the time to just sit in stillness as well and meditate, because that's truth in the strengthening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of your intuition and your connection.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, just in the meditation. Some people do find it very difficult also to meditate.
Yeah.
But you can do active meditations as well, like even walking and drawing and painting. I'm also rediscovering that actually through painting is my way of meditating.
Yeah.
But also recently I did this meditation called Vipassana meditation, which was amazing. And it happens all over the world. There's one in England. There's two places in England that do it. And it's 10 days of silence meditation. But from that, there's just, that I highly recommend that to anyone who, wants to go down this path, or is just want some sense of peace in their life, because Vipassana is powerful. It's a powerful technique for meditation.
Going to India and then coming back, now you're at a stage of coaching and mentoring and everything yourself, like you carry out retreats, and is that right?
Yeah.
What's going on for Arpita right now? What are you doing now?
What am I doing right now? At the moment I hold spaces for breathwork. So I'm a facilitator of breathwork, which is like conscious connected breathwork, cacao medicine, and also sound baths. And I also do coaching for like more of a spiritual business kind of coaching. Specifically, like I target like women in creative businesses, but also who want to kind of do it from a spiritual angle and create abundance from that way, because I felt like that's always been my path. And yeah, that is, and also I have retreats going on every now and then. I've just done my one recently, which was like a variation of different modalities, but breathwork was in there, and sound and cacao. And then I had other teachers come and do different things as well, all somatic and tantra and yoga and different forms of meditation. So just to help also really like connect back to the body, and to help also to remember yourself.
So going back to your childhood and all the experiences that you've had, would you say that hand in hand that's been shaped you to be who you are right now? And do you feel more fulfilled, and do you feel like you found your soul purpose, or are you still on that track, on that path to get there?
Yeah, I think it's a path. I think it's a path, and I wouldn't say that I'm there, but I know now that I'm on the path of like remembrance and remembering like my true essence. And there's moments where you get these glimpses, but the whole point is actually to deepen the connection to it, because you get like, it's like, when you get these little sparks of light, but the light bulb isn't fully on.
Yeah.
So these little glimpses and connections happen, but the more you deepen it and deepen your practices, it gets stronger, and the light gets stronger and the connection gets stronger. So yeah, I think that's where I am, just deepening that. And I don't know where life is going to take me, but yeah, I'm just also surrendering deeper. And in terms of like everything that's happened through my life, it feels like everything is kind of coming together. All these, like, there was a thread through all of it that feels like I can see the thread now through everything, but also I'm also discovering how much of life is not linear at all, and that it is a spiral that you keep coming back, but you in a deeper way. And sometimes I also look back to my past as my teacher. Like, there's parts of me that actually now the wisdom was before, and I have to actually go back to rediscover that wisdom, if that makes sense.
It goes back to when you said that you were born in like a very spiritual home, very much like how I was, like you were taught so much, but you're innocently just taking it all in.
Yeah.
It's all like you've been prepped, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you already know, we know so much already. It's just playing it out now in life.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're young, you're such a sponge, right?
Yeah.
But then when we get older, we become like blocked. So it's almost like
distracted with worldly stuff.
Yeah.
Don't we?
And we get more conditioning. So it's almost like going back to unfilter all of this stuff. All the wisdom was actually there.
It was always there.
Yeah, it was always there. We trusted our intuition way more when we were younger than we do now. So it's like going back and looking at that. There's one thing, an example is just like Facebook. Do you ever get like Facebook memories of like, sometimes I've written something, like some sort of advice from like 10 years ago as my status as Facebook, and I get memories and I'm like, it comes at the right time that I needed to read it again.
Like signals and your signs.
But then when I look at it from this point of view where I am now, I'm like, oh my God, that was so wise. Like it meant something different then, but for me, for now, I'm like, maybe you wrote that for me now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a beautiful way of thinking of that.
Yeah.
Arpita, it's been an absolute pleasure learning about your journey, your path, and getting an insight into your spirituality and everything. It's been an honor. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
I really have. Thank you for inviting me, and also giving me this space to also express everything and share my story and my message.
Yeah. And the message is that everyone can find their soul purpose, and it's a beautiful thing once you start getting on that path.
Yeah.
And we should all get on that journey.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Arpita. You've been amazing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and watching the Mani Kaur TV Podcast show. Leave a comment, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe. Catch you all on the next episode.
Mani Kaur TV Podcast show ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨ ਅਤੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।